Viewers, welcome. You're watching On The Sport Tonight. And On The Sport Tonight shifts the focus onto the state of the nation as we set the stage for the Jubilee celebrations later this year. Now, 26 of these years have been under the administration of the National Resistance Movement that came to power in 1986. Now, as the clock ticks to October 9th, that is 9th this year, critics observe that the NRM's 10-point program that formed the base of the political agenda may have been a non-starter. So tonight we ask whether the NRM has set its agenda and whether we are still on the right track. Our guest tonight is a member of parliament. He's also a historical NRM member and a senior army officer in the Uganda Defense Forces. I also need to add he's also a very fine and very good fine artist, and that will be General Elly Tumwine. Welcome back. Now, before we continue our discussion, I just want to give you our poll question for this evening. Tonight, we are asking, has the NRM lived up to its liberation promises? Has the NRM lived up to its liberation promises? Send your text to 8778. Start with On The Sport and then write your yes or no answer. You can leave your name and a brief comment to 8778. We'll give you a sample of some of these comments and of course the result towards the end of this show. General, welcome. Thank you for allowing and coming on our invitation to join us here on The Sport, and you're On The Sport, General. I will begin, we're taking you back to 1986. We're not so far away this year, about 26th of January, you were celebrating 26 years in government. You had a 10-point program, General. If I was to ask you this question, have you lived up to those promises? Before we actually delve into the 10-point program.
No, you used a very serious word, non-starter.
Don't you think so?
I think the critic who used the word non-starter is a non-starter because there was a history, there was a process, there was a whole effort that started what we are celebrating 26 years after. And therefore to say it was a non-starter is just not to observe or critique properly. And I can assure you that the children who have lived, I don't know how old you are, but those who are 26 years old can tell, and they better know, some of them might not know, that when, for example, when we started the war in 86, I was just 27.
In about 82 actually.
In 81.
81, yes.
1981. I was 27 years old. That means children who have been born since 1986 and are now 26 have eye start themselves, not a non-starter, who have enjoyed a relative, and I'm using the word deliberately, relative freedom and happiness than we did in our years, the 27 years I lived.
But why are you fighting for a relative
Because
situation?
Everything is relative. You know, things are relative. Everything is as compared to what? When you say something is good, as compared to what? When it is bad, as compared to what? When it is beautiful, as compared to what? And most of those words are relative. That's why it is important. Every situation is as compared to what?
General, you had a 10-point program.
Yes, and the 10-point program was actually for transforming the situation for the better.
Yes.
So that is why I'm calling everything on relativity. From what to what. And much of the time we spent, the discussion on what we were doing was, where were we coming from? What was our history? What was the history of Uganda? Where were we? And where were we going? And how would we be going there? And what sort of situation would we want to achieve? So that was, and that should always be, in my opinion, a constant discussion.
Yes, and we will discuss, of course, the 26-year-old you're talking about, who probably now is out of university and about 3 years into employment or unemployment. We will discuss that. Let's look at the 10-point program.
Yes.
You had a 10-point program that stipulated on issues democracy, security, consolidation of national unity, defending national independence, building an independent, integrated and self-sustaining economy, improvement of social services, elimination of corruption and misuse of power, redressing inequality, cooperation with other African countries, and of course a mixed economy. Let's start with the first one, democracy. Have you achieved relative democracy that you
No,
speak
in
about?
our 10-point program,
Yes.
we actually called it real democracy. We were specific.
So have you achieved real democracy?
I think on that one, it's more than 100%, because I don't know of any country in the world that has elections from the village, LC1, to the president, and all leaders in power are elected, really, and by adult suffrage. Really, that one, I can tell you, I have no qualms or no question. I don't think anybody would be in his right senses to say there is no democracy.
The elections are there. We agreed.
Yes.
What about the result of that election? What about what happens in that election and the outcome of that election? Can we discuss? Because we can have on the face value the elections, which are held every 5 years, and in some offices, in some other offices, probably much more earlier. Have we achieved the results we actually, as Ugandans, have taken to the poll when we vote? Are we actually told the exact results that are given? And are we receiving the results that we expect?
You see, the results are a result of the performance of those who at a particular time are voted in power. And therefore, you might not blame the idea that there is a democracy. How democracy is used is the challenge of every individual and individual responsibility. So performance depends on the people who are elected. You elect some, they are very good. You elect others, they don't perform to the expectation. And that is the natural process of everybody. You cannot have a democracy that guarantees you that you will have the best every time you elect the people.
But the process of the election, we have had observers. You and I have seen reports by the observers that cite intimidation, that cite bribery, massive bribery. These are still things that tarnish that first point in the 10-point program, democracy.
No, you see that one, you are now going into other points. Democracy doesn't stand on its own. And that's why we made sure it was not 1 point. It was 10 points, because all the points help each other. For example, if I don't know, we can, as we go along, I can tell you how all of them are integrated and are related, because you cannot have democracy without security.
Let's quickly move to what...
That was number 2.
Yes.
Security of life and property of everybody. That one, in 2009, in the State of the Nation address, the president made a statement which he said that we have fought all the wars, all other wars, and we have won them. And by then there was no Konyi, there was no 17 rebel groups that we have defeated. There was complete peace in the whole country, which we are now enjoying. And that has been going on. Later on, the individual thieves here and there who are even using iron bars and small things like that, those are always there. But the general security was provided. The situation for giving everybody freedom to go and vote, so the point we were talking about, security was provided. Then we got point number 3, which was unity. I can tell you that Uganda reached the point, because from where we are coming from, because I wanted to keep taking you that question, where have we come from? Where are we? Where do we want to go? How do we want to go there? What do we want to achieve? I can assure you that the unity that was achieved by allowing everybody to participate and feel Ugandan and promulgate the constitution and then work together using that constitution has been a consistent, steady, sure progress to consolidate that point number 3 of unity. And that whatever politics we have, people are not in politics because of their religion, tribe, or language, or other reason. And actually, at some point, we are still, at some extent, up to now, we are still up to individual merit, although we went even multi-party dispensation. To a great extent, we still have individual merit. People are voted by their individual capability, by their constituents.
Discussing national unity, General, the party itself if you were trying to help the nation build one block, one unified country, one unified voice, the party itself, you have colleagues who were with you in the struggle that are no longer with you. You have people like General Mugisha Moto. You have people like Kizza Besigye. These are people that were, first of all, members of the party, who also prescribed to this 10-point program, but realized there was a problem along the way. Why do you think so?
No, you see, first of all, me, I don't want, right from the beginning, I want to tell you that I am not speaking for any party, because by law and by practice, I am non-partisan. And I would like to explain that what happened when we went to multi-party dispensation. People had the freedom. It was part of the democracy that people had the freedom to choose which party to belong to. And even when we were still in the movement system, it's not true. It is not possible that we could all have been agreeing on everything or doing the same thing. We had internal discussions, disagreements, conflicts, controversies. So that is a continuous process. Even with the present dispensation or multi-party dispensation, that is a healthy thing to me. I don't have any problem. Having one or two disagreeing with me does not mean that even we cannot agree later on. I don't think you're always agreeing even with your wife, with all due respect, even in the home. Banyankara actually say, come and we stay together. Just to run just tongan. Come and we stay together is one sure way of saying let's have some quarrels once in a while. So I don't see any. It's a demonstration of how we have moved the democracy into different phases. Once the people decided let's go multi-party by vote, then the people had the freedom to go and have their positions where they are. And we never discussed the point where you say we shall always agree. That situation cannot happen.
General, let's quickly move, because I know we want to talk about the 10-point program, but I want to take you to the 7th 10-point program.
Yes, but before you go to the 7, I wanted to move slowly. You know, it was a deliberate thought.
Okay.
It's not just jumping to the excitement of what I see the media these days are jumping into.
Okay.
We had deep thought and went step by step. Like point number 4, which was talking about stopping the interference of foreign interests and strengthening Uganda's interest. I think that one, I must say, our leadership has played a very interesting role, that we dealt with the world, all of them, east, west, south, north, according to the interests of Uganda. And then point number 5, which to me is the major one, was about the social services. Rather,
building an independent,
integrated, self-sustaining national economy. The economy. Really, that has any Ugandan who does not enjoy the economy or does not have the freedom to do what he wants, where he wants, as long as it's not against the law, is not in Uganda.
You and I last year, just after the elections, have seen inflation skyrocket.
That one is not
to the second highest ever in this country.
This is a world over. Actually, me, I get surprised when Ugandans are still thinking that we are living in the time when we are enjoying the happiness of the whole world.
But some of our neighbors never faced this crisis.
I don't want to particularize on individual countries, but the whole world is under economic pressure, is under inflation, is under people being frugal than ever before. In fact, what has happened is waking us up better. The world over, we are just the ones who are enjoying the happiness of our climate and our good agriculture. When everybody was suffering, for us we were exporting food to Somalia, to South Sudan and our other neighbors, and we had not felt the real pinch of the world economic crisis. It's just reaching us as inevitably as it should. So it's only just calling on us to be more frugal, be more stringent, work more hours, and use our resources more optimally than ever before. And as you can see, we've quickly, it hasn't taken a long time, we are going back to dealing with the inflation.
When we come back from the break, I will take you on that, because we will also be talking about public expenditure, obviously government expenditure, and We
Then
will
we'll
discuss the other point, but most importantly, corruption.
Number
the
7.
elimination of corruption and misuse of power, which is point
Fine.
number 7.
I like
We are
that
taking
one.
a very short break at this moment. But before we do that, let's take you back to our opinion poll question for tonight, which is, has the NRM lived up to its liberation promises? I repeat, has the NRM lived up to its liberation promises? SMS your yes or no answer to 8778, 8778, and we'll show you the poll result at the end of the show. Start with on the spot and then SMS your comment, your yes or no answer. We're taking a short break. Don't go away.